In 16th century Spain, a 50-year-old country gentleman named Alonso Quixano sits in his study reading tales of chivalry. He reads day and night, absorbing so many stories of magic and knight-errantry that the boundaries between fiction and life dissolve. The dragons, knights, and enchantments he reads about begin swarming his mind, driving him completely mad. Believing he is destined for eternal glory, he decides to become a knight himself. He drags out a suit of rusted family armor, patches together a cardboard visor for his helmet, and renames his old, skinny workhorse Rocinante. He takes on the title Don Quixote de la Mancha, and, needing a noble lady to inspire his quests, he christens a local farm girl he once admired as Dulcinea. A knight-errant also requires a loyal squire. Quixote approaches his neighbor, an illiterate but highly pragmatic laborer named Sancho Panza. By promising Sancho that their conquests will eventually earn him the governorship of an island, Quixote convinces the farmer to leave his family and follow him onto the open road. From the moment they leave their village, Quixote's core struggle is set. He is a man determined to overwrite the mundane, factual reality of his era with the fictional narrative playing out inside his own head. This collision with reality happens almost immediately. While riding across the plains of La Mancha, Quixote spots a series of towering white windmills. Where anyone else sees ordinary agricultural infrastructure, Quixote perceives a horde of four-armed mythic giants. He charges at them full speed, only to be thrown violently to the ground when his lance catches in a spinning sail. The delusions continue when he stops at a run-down roadside inn for the night. Quixote assumes the dilapidated building is a grand castle. He treats the scheming innkeeper like a noble lord and addresses two local prostitutes working outside as high-born princesses, reciting poetry to them while they play along for amusement. But the world outside the inn is rarely so accommodating. When Quixote tries to force merchants, monks, and goatherds to adhere to his archaic codes of chivalry, they do not understand his erratic behavior. Their confusion quickly turns to violence, and Quixote routinely suffers brutal, bone-breaking beatings from the locals he encounters. His first major expedition ends in total physical defeat. A group of his friends from home, disguised to humor his fantasies, manage to capture him. They bind his hands, lock him inside a wooden ox cart cage, and drag him all the way back to his village. Throughout this first half of his journey, Quixote acts as the sole architect of the chaos. He is the active agent, violently projecting his personal madness onto a physical world that largely ignores him. About a month later, an incredible structural shift occurs in his world. Quixote discovers that a physical book detailing his past adventures has actually been published in the real world. Because this text has circulated widely, the people Quixote meets on his next journey have already read it. They know who he is, they anticipate his madness, and instead of reacting with confusion, they begin to adapt their behavior to match his delusions. The first major deception comes from his own squire. Tasked with locating the noble Dulcinea, Sancho Panza panics. Instead of searching the town, he simply presents Quixote with the first foul-smelling peasant girl he sees on the road, claiming she is Dulcinea and an evil enchanter has masked her beauty. Quixote believes him entirely. This animated flowchart illustrates how the narrative turns in on itself. Initially, arrows move outward. Quixote projects his delusions into the world. But now, the direction reverses. The world manufactures deceptions, bouncing those arrows right back inward at the isolated knight. This dynamic reaches its peak when Quixote encounters a wealthy duke and duchess. Having read the published history, the nobles use their vast resources to orchestrate an escalating series of cruel, elaborate pranks for their own entertainment. In one instance, they convince Quixote and Sancho that they must ride a magical flying steed to battle an evil giant. The nobles blindfold the two men, place them on a wooden horse named Clavineño, and blow wind in their faces. And then they detonate a bellyful of firecrackers, sending the knight and squire tumbling hard into the dirt. The cruelty easily extends to Sancho. The Duke finally grants the squire his long-promised island governorship, which is actually just a small local town. They subject Sancho to grueling, staged military sieges and strict medical starvation diets until the terrified, exhausted laborer voluntarily resigns his post. Quixote is no longer inventing his own enemies. The world around him has decided to cynically indulge his madness, trapping him inside a sprawling, orchestrated illusion that he has absolutely no control over. The climax of Quixote's journey takes place far from the dusty rural plains of his home, ending up along the busy harbor of Barcelona. While riding near the beach, he is challenged by a mysterious figure calling himself the Knight of the White Moon. In reality, the man in the armor is Samson Carrasco, a well-meaning academic from Quixote's home village who is using the knight's own fictional rules against him in a desperate bid to bring him home. The two clash on the sand, and the older Quixote is swiftly and decisively defeated. Pinned to the ground, he is forced by the strict codes of chivalry to accept his victor's terms. He must lay down his arms, retire, and remain in his village for 1 full year. Quixote undertakes the bleak, humiliating journey back to La Mancha without his armor. Shortly after arriving home, he falls severely ill with a tremendous fever. He sleeps for 6 days, and when he finally wakes, the delusions have vanished. His sanity is completely restored. From his bed, he publicly renounces the books of chivalry and the fictional persona he created. He acknowledges that his true identity is Alonso Quixano, dictates his final will to his friends, and quietly passes away. For years, Don Quixote survived every brutal beating, broken bone, and cruel prank his fictional world threw at him. But the moment he was forced to strip away the delusion and face the stark, unbending truth of reality, it killed him. Yet, as the immortal figures of the knight and his squire prove, the legacy of his madness long outlived the fragile man who invented it.